know that balance and coordination are a key component in developing literacy skills in children, and that for most children, their balance in particular is not fully developed until they're around the age of 6 or 7. So that's why in the UK we start children learning at 4 by bashing them over the head with phonics. That's right, it's no coincidence that in other European countries where children start school later, that they end up with the same or sometimes even better results than we do, because they're working with the body rather than forcing children into something that they're not quite ready for yet. And I tell you this because anyone who has a child in early years who is struggling with reading, I would say just don't worry too much at this stage. Just try and relax about it a little bit, because it might be that their body just isn't ready for it yet. And I've got 4 exercises that will help improve coordination and balance and will help build up those skills that they need to learn to develop their literacy. These skills might also be useful if you are home educating your special needs child, or if the reading homework you're being assigned by school, if you're really struggling to do that with your child, you could maybe try to intersperse some of these exercises with that reading practice. My daughter is a really reluctant reader, and one of her big problems is attentional difficulties. She just can't focus on the page for long enough. And I find that these exercises are also quite good sensory regulation exercises. I've got another video about how to use sensory regulation exercises to improve attention, so you might like to watch that after this one. I'll put a link at the end of this video so you can do that. So for these exercises, I'm pleased to say that you don't need any fancy equipment, nothing expensive. You simply need a ball. And it doesn't matter what kind of ball you have. As you can see, mine's got a little bit deflated over the winter. Just any kind of ball. So 4 exercises, and this is number 1. So this is called dynamic single balance. And what you want to do here is get your child to put one foot on the ball and balance. Now, if that's too difficult for them, that's fine. They can put one hand on the wall to steady themselves. And if they're finding it too easy, what they can do is pass the ball between their feet. So back and forth and back and forth. That's our first exercise. The second exercise is trunk rotation. So here you would take the ball, and ideally you'd have someone standing behind you back to back, and you pass the ball this way, and then they will pass it back to you, and you take it from this way. So you would go around in a circle like this. So another good reason for doing this exercise is it is really good crossing the midline exercise. Now, if you go and watch my video on attentional difficulties, which as I said I'm going to link to at the end of this one, you'll learn a bit more why crossing the midline is so important and get some other ideas on exercises you can do to improve that. So the next exercise, we're going to get on our hands and knees, and what we're going to do here is just push the ball forward, first with one hand, forward and back, and then with the other hand, forward and back. And you can rotate these back and forth. So our final exercise is pushing the ball up the wall. So with 2 hands, we just push it up, and you can have a competition to see how far your child can push it to make it fun, and then roll it back down. And maybe you could set them a challenge, say, can you push it right to the top, depending on how high your ceilings are, and then roll it all the way down. So these are some simple exercises that you can do to help improve balance and coordination in your child. Now, I want to add a special note on the end here, because I know with some neurodiverse children that asking them to do anything just escalates into a battle. So first of all, I would say your priority is always emotional regulation. So if forcing them to do these exercises is going to escalate the situation and potentially cause a meltdown, stop, because nobody can learn when they're emotionally dysregulated. Your priority should always be emotional regulation. However, what you might want to try and do is just slowly introduce them one at a time, or turn it into a game, like the passing the ball back and forth. Maybe you could set a timer and see how quickly they could do it. You've got to find some low demand ways of introducing these exercise if your child has any kind of demand avoidance, because otherwise they're just going to shut down. And if they just simply won't do them at all, fine, leave it. You can always come back and try again in a week, in 2 weeks, just look for opportunities when they seem calm and regulated, and maybe sneak the exercises in, a bit like you might sneak vegetables into their food by chopping them up into little bits. So do the best you can, but overall I would say try and keep calm about the learning, because children all learn at their own pace, and I know there is so much pressure from school to reach certain targets by certain ages, but really these targets are so arbitrary and they change all the time depending on what government is in power. Literally, you get a change of government and suddenly your child is expected to do more by a certain age. So if your child's not doing that, don't worry. Maybe they just need a bit of extra time for their body to develop, for their mind to develop and get where it needs to be. So good luck with those. I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that video provided some inspiration for you on how you can develop your child's balance and coordination. I mentioned a couple of times in that video that I have another video that you might like to watch because it fits in very neatly with this one. It's about exercises you can do to improve focus and attention. And if you want to check that out, you just need to click on this video here. Happy watching.